Hey, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well. I know everybody's inside most of the time, but hey, that's how life goes. So, this is actually my way to try to help you experience, I guess, a little bit of the outside world in your own home. Crazy, right? So, I expect you to download this program, or actually, you could use it online. So, just look up Stellarium. It is probably one of the coolest free pieces of software you can have. I guess it depends. I guess cool is subjective, but objectively, this is the coolest thing ever. You can do it online, or you can, if you have Linux or Mac. But essentially, I have Windows, so I clicked on this. I'm not going to actually download it because my internet is actually a little slow where I live, sadly. Makes it hard to game sometimes. So here, let me help you out. I clicked on that, I downloaded it. So some of you may have some issues here. I just run anyway. It's a trusted source. And yeah, my hair is a little long and crazy. I guess cutting it now is not a priority. So click on the language that you want. Set it up, get everything ready. Yeah. All right. Everybody doing all right? What's funny is when I get all my groceries now, I'll buy like two pieces of junk food, chips or cookies or whatever, and those will be the first things to go. Funny. The great thing about this program, like I said, is you can go actually in the past and in the future and see what's going to happen. You can change the dates and locations. You can see many, many different things, which is it's really, really nice. Actually, this was helpful for me in taking some pictures and trying to figure out what I'm going to see when I go out there. The one thing that this does not take into consideration is the weather, which is very difficult to account for. If you ever take higher level physics courses, or even math courses, you'll learn about chaos theory, and then it'll be quite clear. So when you see this program, this is what you see. You're like, what? This doesn't make any sense. But here, right now, it is in Paris. So there's a few things. You can notice it's full screen. If you don't like that, you can press F11 and it'll do that. Or if you want, you can come here. You can click it right there. Or to quit, you can just go down again right here, quit, or Control Q, which I'm not going to do, but this is all right. So one thing that I want you to do is to go here to the location window, and I mean, it's your life, you do what you want, but you can click here on Scottsdale, or you could get your location from GPS. I'm just going to type it in, Scottsdale, okay, and then add to list, and this is our location. Okay, so this gives us everything that we need, the time zone, and then I can just exit out and it'll keep us here in Scottsdale. Now this photo is actually not of Scottsdale. I forgot where this was. This is Paris or something. And then so this will give us the real life time and what we should be seeing and where the sun should be. So right now, if you look towards the southeast, in between the south, you'll see the sun and Venus, but it's not very visible, and the moon. So there's something that's really good. This is probably something that I just keep up here so I can play around with the time. So if you really want, you can check everything. And oh, by the way, the Milky Way, that's super cool. Actually, I'll get into that later. So if you're up at a really awkward time in the morning, or maybe some of you it's not awkward, you can actually see the Milky Way with some of the planets, which is pretty cool. So so far, that's one of my favorite things, being able to identify that when it's going to be visible, as long as making sure there's no moon also. So other ways to customize this, landscape. So this is my favorite part. Actually, no, it's not, but this is a cool part. You can change what it is here. Let's go back to daytime so you can actually see. So one of the ways to customize this, you can choose, whether you want the actual view to be in Germany, or what it looks like on the sun, which is really, it's not the greatest landscape, but it could look like you're on Mars or any of the planets. Which was my favorite? Where is it? No, no, no. Do I like trees? See, that's just sad. Where is it? Ooh, hurricane looks nice. I think I might keep it on hurricane. But what the bad thing about these ones is that the plane of view can be obstructed by these trees. Did you even do this one? Alright, we'll stay on hurricane, and then if I need a better view, I'll change it later. So here we can also change some more of our settings here. Let me get rid of that. Let me change it to the nighttime. And I don't know if you see this, but right here we have a timer which goes by normal time. If you want, you can speed this up actually, and you can kind of see things change. It's kind of cool. You can actually track certain things, and you can see their how they orbit. So that's something cool. You can just pretend like you're sitting somewhere and, I don't know, have the night go by, listen to some music, whatever you want to do. You can actually make it go crazy. Okay, I'll stop that because, or you could just pause it even. I think you could just make it go real slow and it'll kind of stop. Good, so these are some things that we can see. There are many functions to this. You can do whatever you want. You can saturate this more. Perspective. Again, there are many different things you can see. See, you can click on something and show its trail, and then speed it up, and you can see how it moves through the night sky. What is important? All of these have their uses, and they're quite important. If you want, you can add different grids, and we will use that later. Let's see. Oh, actually, this is pretty cool. This is what I like. You can remember that assignment that we had at the beginning of the year, where we had to look up certain, astronomy with these certain ancient ideas or ideologies. You can go right here. So the one that's we're stuck with is Western, which has a lot of info that you can look at. It's pretty cool. But also, I don't know, looking back on the project that you did, or maybe you're interested in a different culture completely, you can look right here, Aztec for obvious reasons, and you can see some cool things. Surveys, we won't get into that right now. That gets kind of crazy too. But again, you can just you can play around with this and enjoy this as much as you can. All right, one thing that I know a lot of you were interested in is being able to see the constellations. Now, so actually I just happened to find the Big Dipper right here, which is called Ursa Major. Okay, so you can tell it's that because of this. And one of the coolest things that I like about the Big Dipper is, once you're able to identify it, is that if you follow this towards that direction, you actually come up you come to find this big star, which is Arcturus. Okay, and the reason that I remember that is because if you follow the arc of the Big Dipper, you will come across Arcturus. Also, the other thing, do you see this right here, north? Um, if you're ever lost somewhere where you can see the stars really well, which has happened before, you can find north fairly easily by finding the Big Dipper. And again, right here, the Big Dipper itself is not north, but it will point towards north. So remember how the arc right here takes us to Arcturus. Well, in the same vein, if you follow these two, the bottom ones, the ones away from here, towards that direction, they will lead to Polaris, which is the North Star, which is in the north direction. Do you kind of see that? Now this is not perfectly north, it is a little bit off. So do you see that right there? I clicked right here and you can see that this is Polaris. And it's pretty cool. When you click on it, it will give us the magnitude and then the absolute magnitude, which is all things that we should know. And the color index, we've covered this. So in this situation, the color index, I think, so B to V, so it's in the different filters. So it takes images of different filters and it rates the scale of which filter it's more towards. So if this number is bigger, I think a big number would be anywhere between 2 or 3. That means it is a cooler star. I forget what ours is, what our sun is, but it's towards the cooler end. So something towards 0 or towards the negative would be a very hot star. So that scale from 0 to about 2, 2 being cold, 0 being hot. You'll be able to tell that. And then you can tell many other different very important things. So I will get rid of that. So again, that's how to find the North Star. It's pretty cool. Again, and this is what most people have been trying to, I guess why most people cared about astronomy is because of this. So you can look at, constellations. Wait a minute. All right, so I figured out what happened. Well, two things. If you get stuck on this where you left clicked and you can't get off of that, just right click and you should be okay. But this is the other thing that I guess I haven't done before, so it's a good troubleshooting moment. Right here, I looked at the constellations and their labels and their pictures, and this was foreign to me because I actually haven't used it like this. I forgot to take something off. So when you're doing this, when you go to your star lore, this is I had it on this setting, so that's why. So if you go back to Western, yeah, there we go. That's the traditional thing that most people want to see. Okay, so we can see now Ursa Major, okay, the Big Dipper right here. And then again, remember, if you follow these two down here, boom, okay, that's the North Star, which again is part of the Little Dipper, Ursa Minor, and it's the end. So now you can kind of see, so we will be working with this. I will try to find ways to be creative to, help us learn using this type of material. And again, you can play around with it and hopefully be able to identify these kinds of things. So when you take that off, then it goes back to normal, and then you see it is here. Let me help you with that. Here are the constellation lines, and then here are the labels, and then you can just, when you look at the night sky, hopefully you're able to identify it. It's a little challenging at first, but once you keep practicing, you'll get better at it. And then, so these ones right here are circumpolar, which means that they will almost always be visible any time of the year. The ones that are further out, right here, this is why these are the astrology signs, is because they're seasonal. Uh, so that's why you can kind of see they rotate and they'll be out of sight depending on what time of year it is. So the closer you are to here, the more often you see it, and then the further away you are, the less often. Hopefully that makes sense. And then you can see the art and be like, oh yeah, that totally looks like a little baby bear or a crown. Some of these are just like, huh? Yeah, they get these people, when they had nothing to do, they had quite an imagination. But I mean, good thing that they did, because then they were able to actually identify and make sense of what they were able to see. So this is most of it. If you want, you can take away the ground and be able to see a lot of what's going on. Again, right here, you can see this. Put the ground back, and also this does a good job of pretending to have an atmosphere, so it's not as visible. So you can toggle that on or off. Right click to get rid of that, and then cardinal points. We can have that. So right here you can have deep sky objects, which will show, and then you can click and zoom in and see some of that. Actually, I want the planet labels. You can see meteor showers. Here, let me take this off. Also here, these are the meteor showers. So if you look in that direction for long enough, it might be possible that you might see something. Again, and exoplanets right there all over the place. So this is really cool program that I really enjoy. You can play with it as much as you want. Here, let me show you something real quick with something that I had shown you before, just because again I like pictures, and you might find this interesting. I was debating on because I saw some pictures on I saw some planets on the pictures that I took that I showed y'all. So if you look at this one, you can actually see, so this right here and that right here, those are two planets, and these are all stars. So the reason why I knew these two are planets is because from this image you can't tell exactly why, but one of the big hints is from the water you can see the reflections, which I actually really thought was pretty dope. But the other way to know if what you're seeing is a planet or a star is, one, planets are going to be much brighter because they're much closer, so their apparent magnitude is quite larger. The other thing is that stars twinkle, hence the name of that song, and planets do not. So stars twinkle, planets do not, and they're usually bigger and brighter. So I knew that this one right here, you can't really see it from the image, but it was Mars because it was reddish. And this one was brighter and a bit more yellow, and off the top of my head, I couldn't remember whether it was Venus or Jupiter. And this is quite, it's very bright, much bigger than that. And initially I thought it was Venus, because Venus, outside of the moon and the sun, of course, is the brightest object in our sky. And so initially I thought it would be that. But it's actually Jupiter. And the way that I found it is actually I looked online initially, but this was a great way to check it. Hold on. Oh, actually, let me come back. It was the 24th. There's a better way of doing that, but I don't care. And it was around 3 o'clock in the morning. So this is how I actually found it the second time to confirm it. So you can see right here that this is the Milky Way galaxy, the center specifically right here, which is the prettiest part. You can actually see it in other locations, but the most truly awe-inspiring section is right here. And I knew it was this because I took it around this time, and you can see Jupiter and Mars right here. However, if I would have been patient, a little bit more patient in that location, I could have had th three planets, but I was only there for a certain time, and I wanted to go to the other location to take the other picture, that one, and the planets don't show up. Are those the planets? Oh, it might be right here actually. Yeah, I think those are the planets. I took this around, I don't remember, 4:30 in the morning. But anywho, you can see now when you look up at the stars, at the sky, and you're like, man, that's really bright. I wonder what that is. And then you can figure out what time you saw it, what day it was, and then confirm it, which is pretty cool. So also, if you're up at a crazy hour, you can see some of the planets. See, let's see. Today is the 30th. So yeah, so if you wake up before the sun comes out, sometime around 4, and you look towards the southeast direction, you'll be able to see these planets. I'm not encouraging you to, sacrifice your sleep or anything, but it is pretty cool. Anywho, there are many more things that you can play around with in this program. I just showed you just a real small little section, but this should help you get started in what we're going to do moving forward. Again,